till it's gone. Paved paradise.
You guys have no fun together.
Lot. Oh, yeah.
Alex, thank you so much for being here, first of all.
Well, thank you
and Chris,
for
thank
having
you.
us.
I appreciate
Yes,
you guys being
Good to
here.
meet you, Dave.
Okay, so how do we say your last name? I want to screw it up. Rothaker?
Are you saying it in German or American?
I'm saying it in German.
German. The Rothaker.
All right. And for our Americans listening,
Rothaker.
Rothaker.
Rothaker. Yeah.
All right. And many people know you by Popeye.
Yes.
Yes, I was watching back showing my son something, and I think it was an old recording of Leno, and I think
Right.
Leno was like, "So why did they call you Popeye?" And then you did your face,
Right.
And then
Yeah.
he was.
That was a fun show.
So okay, so anybody that doesn't know you, which I think they should from being around here, you are the dog trainer of dog trainers.
I enjoy training dogs. I've been doing it for a long time, whole life. So started when I was 16, 15. So 10 years ago I started, and now, where I am now.
Okay, so when you're growing up and do things, I don't know anybody that I've met that grew up and says I really want to train dogs. Like, what point in your life were you like, this is what you wanted to do?
Oh, well, I lived in Chicago. The first dog my mom got, we actually lived in an apartment in Winston Towers, right in Chicago. My mom worked like 3 jobs, so she got a German Shepherd that was aggressive, and she took it from a rescue. It wanted to be a nice dog, but she wanted me to have something at home, that would protect me when she wasn't there. And the dog's name was Lady, and I was like the kid from Home Alone. My mom worked 3 jobs. She got home in between 8 and 2 in the morning, so she wanted me to have a dog, and that was my first dog I had. I feel sorry for my first dog, because my first dog actually, for fun, I would take it sledding down the hill, get a big refrigerator box, and we'd roll down the hill. Yeah. And I think the dog's having fun. I think back now, poor dog,
Right.
rolling down the hill 90 miles an hour, banging off me.
Right.
And then my mom said, she'd see me when older kids would pick on me, I'd chase them away with the dog. So that's the first time I had a dog. It was a German Shepherd, and the story about that was very funny because she was aggressive to dog, but not. She'd bark when she come at the door, bark at people, but the apartment complex, they had like 3 buildings. One was, like 10-story buildings, and I got a petition in our building that I shouldn't be here because the dog was aggressive in the elevator, but it wasn't. And they had a meeting with us, and 2 times it happened that they said it happened. We weren't even there. We're on vacation, so my mom just said, we need to move away from her anyways. We'll see that. So that's the first time I had a dog. But that dog went with us. We moved to, at that time, Skokie on Harms Road. And I used to take my friends and put tent coats on them and put my mom's junkie's coat on the outside. And we, do protection work. They'd come, and I'd just send the dog out and maybe fighting with them, or we had a game where we'd be standing behind the mattress, and the longest guy could stay out with the dog because the dog would be jumping up trying to pull the mattress down. So the whole time as I was growing up, dogs were always in my life.
Wow. So what was the point where I know that I read some of your bio of some things you met somebody's, would you call him a mentor?
Oh yes, yeah, Willie Necker. Yeah.
Willie Necker.
He actually trained all the dogs during World War II. 5,800 dogs, so he was in charge of that, a lot of dogs.
Wow.
And I was, at that time I moved to Wheeling, and when I lived in Wheeling for a work-study program, or what they called it, I worked in the kennel part-time. And that's where I, started falling, wanting to train dogs, which was a good time in my life because, at that time everyone's getting in trouble, so it was a good thing of avoiding trouble for a little bit. Not that I didn't get in trouble, but I can tell you 100 stories about that too. But so I wound up training dogs at Willie Necker's. I worked in the kennel for probably a year, and I started with hunting dogs. And while I was doing the hunting dogs, I was watching all the personal protection dogs. And then at one time I said to Willie, I'd like to do that. I think I'd be more interested in doing something like that. Then I did, and he took me under the wing. At that time, he had a trick act, so I fell in love with dogs doing tricks. He had 7 dogs that he appeared back then, big TV shows, and, the Armory downtown, and all these places and performed. So I used to watch that. We had dogs that jumped rope and did a bunch of different things. So as I was training dogs, that became an interest, doing trick dogs too. And then I learned to be, my forte was working, or I liked working with aggressive animals, fixing them, making them better, not that I was good, takes, everyone says, well, I've been training dogs for 2 years, now they know what they're doing. Not, I worked with that for 5 years, and maybe at that time I knew, 40% of what I needed to know.
Really?
And then at the 10 years, then maybe 80%. But when you don't know something, doing something, learning by experience. I mean, learning by failure is not good, because the one who suffers is the dog. So when I ran into problems, I still had Willie Necker there, or another Carl Stroh, who was a trainer there too, and they'd say, no, do this. So I was privileged. I got to learn the right way,
Right.
about training dogs, and a lot of fun.
Yeah. Okay. So I love talking to people that, like, Willie sounds like a very instrumental person in your career of things you've done. Do you have like one thing that you think is the most important thing that he taught you? Was it a principle or anything?
Most important thing they taught me. Basically, I guess if I think back, I would say always show the dog what it should know,
Mm-hmm.
and show it till he understands it, then ask the dog to do it. The only thing I changed what they told me is praise. The old German trainers, dogs don't like to be patted on the head like this. They don't like all this. They love it. I can go back to where I was working with one guy in particular. His name is Mike Minnick, and I trained his dogs for the last 40 years. And his dogs, this is going back 20 years, were better than my dogs. I'm going, I'm a trainer. How can his dogs be better than my dogs? And I paid attention. He praised his dogs, not only when they did something, but while he worked them. And so I was hard, because all the other years I was trained by these guys. Don't praise your dog. Don't, just, when he sits down, say good boy, but that's it. Then I took that in hand, where I entered praise. And now if you watch me work my dog for 1.5 hours, I probably say good boy, let's say less would be 100 times.
Wow.
For every time he does something good, it's not when he does something, it's while he's doing it. And that's the biggest thing you learn that I learned. So if I work with that guy now, Mike Minnick, guess what I'm telling him to do? Praise his dog.
Praise
more.
the dog, right?
You're not praising enough. And I say, I got to thank you for this, Mike.
Right.
So that's probably the only thing that I changed. That, well, there's things in training, but I have to explain that to you. But that's, little things to think like a dog. You got to think like a dog, not think how you. Everyone thinks the dog knows what you're thinking. What you're thinking, they don't.
Right.
You have to show the dog every step of the way,
Wow.
and not one step, every step. Then you become, people that go to school for 8 weeks and become a fully trained dog. Not.
Right.
I can remember my wife trains dogs, for many years now too. You're talking, she's been training dogs for close to 40 years too. And I can remember many times where, everyone, is pushing a dog really hard because it's not doing it. And you push a dog really hard, that's not doing it, doesn't make them do it better. Some dogs, it makes them get worse. And then when you get to that point where dogs are getting better than you, put the dog away, chill, relax.
Sounds like a lot of humans I know.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Push them too hard, they just give up, right?
Right.
Yep.
Yeah.
The same thing, I remember when I thought I was a dog trainer, I was training dogs for 8 years at Willie Necker's, and I had a pit bull, and the dog was getting the best of me. I'm correcting the dog harder and harder, and dogs just looking at me like, you can do this all day long. And I remember, it was after I worked there for 8 years, I put the dog away, left a note for, it was like 12 o'clock at night, left a note for Willie Necker, Carl Stowe, I'm not going to do this anymore. I shouldn't be doing this because, dog got the best of me, went home, and probably woke up at 2 in the morning, slapped myself in the face and said, come on, go do it right. That was the last time I ever had that problem ever again in my life.
Right.
Dog got the best of me. And now I know if your dog knows what it's supposed to do, if I have to work him however long, I know I can make him do it just by doing it.
Wow.
Not by forcing them to do it,
So you started there, and then so when you started training dogs on your own, we were training police dogs. Is there like purposeful? I know that there's obviously different ways. There's the police dogs to do that, and then the tricks that you're talking about. So when did you started making a career out of training dogs right away? Then
No.
no,
No.
no.
I worked at Willie Necker's, and while I was working at Willie Necker's, there was National Canine. They rented dogs out, and at that time they put 240 dogs out a night. And my favorite thing was agitating dogs. When you fix a dog from biting, you also learn how to teach a dog to bite because you know the both sides of it. You know what makes a dog bite. Well, if I do this wrong at this time, this dog's going to bite my hand. You know, and you learn all that. So I was very, very good at getting dogs to bite who wouldn't bite. So I worked at National Canine. That's where I met my wife. She was handling 240 dogs, and they'd bring those dogs out. I'd do 20 dogs a day and agitate those dogs while I was working at Willie Necker's. Didn't touch police dogs yet at all. I was just doing personal protection dogs. And then what happened as I got into it, then we opened our own place, but that was way down the line. I opened a place and I rented from Pricer Animal Hospital, which was in Northbrook on River Milwaukee Avenue, and I was working there. And then at that time, I got into police dogs. When I left Willie Necker's, and he knew Bill Taylor. Everyone knew everyone back then, so everyone. I got along with everyone. He not sold the kennel. He rented the kennel out to a guy who got the first 8 dogs of Rosemont, and they had 110 dogs in for training, and we got all down payment. He split. He was gone. So here's Willie Necker, probably 70 years old, saying, what do I do with 110, so 118 dogs that aren't trained? So he called me and asked if I would close the kennel down for him. So, clean all these dogs out, and, he had enough with renting out the kennel. So went there and did that. Paul came with, worked part-time there too, my wife, and emptied the kennel out, trained the police dogs. I told him, I don't know how to train police dogs. Right. I told Willie Necker, he goes, well, I'll help you. So Rosemont was the first ones we did. The guy trained him, gave him to him, and closed down the kennel. And meanwhile, while I was doing that, the other trainer, Carl Stroh, who was a mentor to me too, he left, of course, because everyone was gone. And his wife called us, and Carl Stroh died, and asked if I could close their kennel down. So we closed that kennel down, we closed the other kennel down, and we had a lot of people knocking on our door. Will you train a dog? Will you train a dog? Then we went back to Pricer's, then we opened and started doing boarding and training.
Wow.
Then the police dogs came later. Where Ranhurst Mall is?
I do?
Yeah, so they had a police day, and that's where they have their squad teams and everyone there. And Rosemont had their canine there, and I went and watched the demonstration. And it was, they needed work because I haven't seen them now for 6 months, and he really had no one to work them. And one person walked up to me, Paul Padelli walks up to me, he goes, what do you think? He goes, pretty bad, huh? And I go, need to work with him. And he said, would you work with us? So at that time, there were no police people who trained police dogs in a group or whatever. So I said, yeah, I'll work with you. So I worked with them, and then I got Wheeling, then I got Norridge, and then bingo kept on going. All our dogs were performing good. They were doing great, catching people, finding people. Then it built up to what we have now, a lot of dogs.
Wow.
50-something departments, that we work and train with. So
wow.
That's how police dogs started. But it's only one thing out of everything. And
Yeah, it's just...
And I was telling him during all that time, I started doing trick dogs, or working with a trick dog.
Right.
Then when they had a problem, Necker would show me this. And then when Necker passed away, there were no trick dogs anymore. And then I had a trick dog. I said, well, I'll call an agent. And I called, back then it was Howard Schultz. I called him, hey, I have a trick dog. Would you like to, could I have you, can I work under you? And he goes, well, how many dogs do you have? I go, 1. He goes, no, not interested in 1 dog. Because everyone was Willie Necker, 7 dogs.
Oh, okay.
And I didn't like, I worked 2 dogs. And I even like working 2 dogs. It wasn't fun to me. 1 dog. So I made, I wound up, Bears called me, and I did Bears halftime. And I smashed it, man. The dog, everyone nuts, And then it just so happened everyone watched it, and there were three agents in the crowd, and 3 of them came up and asked, could we represent you? That's really good. And I go to Howard, and I said, I called you. Didn't want one dog. And he goes,
right.
I didn't think a dog could do all this, one dog.
Right.
So that's the start of that. And I traveled out all over the United States while I was training police dogs, while I was doing dogs, while I was agitating dogs, while we were going to shows, And we was most wanted trick act in the United States.
Wow.
Then after that, build up more and more. Not the police dogs and the trick dogs and everything. So.
And people that don't know you that are listening right now or watching wherever you're at, you and your dogs have been basically on every late night TV show, every daytime TV show. You've been on, I think you said Bozo how many times?
Bozo 3 times.
Yeah, but that's very impressive to me, even better than some of
Bozo was actually pissed at me.
Bozo was pissed at you?
Yeah, big time. Yeah, because he was at Great America.
Okay.
And I had an agent hire me. So he was doing a show on a flat point there. And then I was supposed to perform up on a stage that was over there. And, I'm not in charge of what I do. The person who has you, the host, is. And he goes, okay, when do you start? And I said, well, I want to wait till Bozo's done. He goes, no, starting time is 1 o'clock. You need to start now. So I started doing my trick act, and everyone left Bozo. And so next time I was on Bozo, he was being not nice to me. So I went up and I said, I explained to him what happened. That wasn't me, and he understood. And he said,
I like that I can imagine you having a conversation with Bozo trying to calm him down and you'd be nice to him to explain how things are going, right?
I was on Bozo many times. First time I went on Bozo because it's your first TV show, right?
Right.
And my Doberman had a licking sore. A licking sore is where they get neurotic about one little spot and they lick, and it's an open wound. And I told my wife, I go, well, before we go on the show, just put a little bit of black duct tape over it. So this is like 10 minutes before the first show at Bozo. 10 minutes before the first show. She comes back, he's got his whole leg taped. I go, Paul, you can't do that. Because the leg was like in a crutch. I said, you got to take the stuff off. So that's only the beginning. So I'm pulling that off. I go to put my shoes on, because we were nervous for a show.
Yeah.
They're not my shoes, they're her shoes. So now I'm wearing shoes that are 3 sizes too little.
This is your first TV
show, and that's not even the worst of it. She has white pants and I have white pants. And guess what white pants she gave me? Her white pants. And I got shorts. They're up on my thing. I can't bend over because my pants are going to split. And so I have shoes that are too long. A dog that we have to take the tape off. Now it's got glue on them. Right. And then I'm thinking it's a big stage. Bozo Circus stage was like this. So now I got a dog that is used to performing on a big thing. He adapted, but, I'm thinking, oh, my God, how I'm going to jump, 4 hurdles in 10 feet. So it was a very tense first show, so.
Everything that could possibly go wrong.
Oh.
But how'd the performance go?
Good.
Dog did
good.
Yeah, that's good.
My feet hurt. But
I'm sure. And you almost ripped your pants. But
I was careful about that. No bending down.
That's funny.
So
it must be cool because you're doing something you're really passionate about, and working with the dogs seems to be like obviously that's almost your purpose, what you're doing, but to get national recognition, and I know being on TV, but people think it's a big deal, right? But to be really highlighted for what you're doing, it's got to be a kind of a cool feeling when Jay Leno's show calls. And
oh yeah, no, started with Stupid Pet Tricks with Letterman was on there with my family. First dog to jump rope. Set record with my 2 daughters jumped, and my wife spun, so it was a family thing.
So cool.
So and then after that, one of the first records I got was jumping rope. It wasn't with that dog. Was it with that? No, it was with that dog. Yeah.
Wow. So these are like Guinness Book of World Records?
Guinness Book.
Awesome. How many of those do you have?
Many.
Enough where you don't know
many
exactly?
Many said, many broke.
Really?
But my favorite thing is Guinness is always doing something that's never been done.
Right.
That's not. Guinness has changed a little bit now. It's hard. I used to work with a guy named Stewart, and he knew, what I said was true, because I'm sure they get, 3,000 applicants a day.
I'm sure.
I can do this, and it's just, obviously they have to check everything else, and now it's a little bit hard, because I have beautiful tricks, and, just getting hold, it's, well, you're the one who does it, Yeah, it's not a natural thing where you could write a letter, and they'd come back and say, well, demonstrate what you want, and I do it. How many hoops you got to jump through.
Right. We haven't even introduced you, Chris, so we got to make sure people know who you are here.
Tell them who you are.
Right on. I'm Chris Crandall, and a family friend, and also helping Alex out manage some of his dog stuff. So when we're working on these Guinness World Records, just communicating with them is much different. I think probably 10 years ago we broke a record for having Sailor, one of Alex's dogs, walking the ball about 30 feet through post.
Yeah, weaving through post.
Maybe further, but Guinness came out. They flew some people out. They shook Alex's hands. They signed the paperwork. They made it a really cool thing for the town, for the school, for the kids. And I'm sure they're still doing some of that stuff. But to communicate now, you apply online, and then there's like an AI thing that comes through that says, "Hey, keep sending your questions through this," so you don't get a hold of a real person. Maybe once in a while you'll get a person response, but it funnels you back to keep asking questions through this this text, and a lot of times you get the AI coming back through, which is not desired when you have somebody like Alex, who is world class, who's done all the shows, who's been on Oprah, who is ready to do the next best thing.
Yeah,
it's hard to
but
get.
they're overwhelmed, I think.
Yeah, and and it shows you it's 2024. That's what it's about. So my first thought is, how many great things are they missing because of that, their AI assistants or however they run that, right?
No, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, what do you think out of the Guinness records that you have, is there one that you're really proud of that you're like, this is cool? Like, we're talking about things that are impossible, right? And it sounds like a lot of the stuff you're doing is basically impossible.
Yeah, no, it's hard because they're, the one trick I did with my dog, I promised the dog after he did this trick, I would never do it again. I felt really bad because I was going to a show. It was in Germany, way up in the mountains. It was a 4-hour or 6-hour drive from the airport, up in the mountains. As we're going up in the mountains, it was 16 gold medal winners that were performing. It was called a gala, and they were performing. This was like the 30th anniversary or 40th anniversary. And as we're going up there, we get my cousin who set the stuff up comes out with a paper, and it's my dog on the front page with a glass of water on her nose. And they go, "Well, that's cool. What is that?" He said, "You're the show." I go, "What do you mean?" I thought I was a sideshow, where I just do a little show. So here you are in front of 40,000 people in a stadium, and it's 77 million people watching their shows. They're big shows. They're not like here. If you go to a show, if I go to Oprah, you practice 10 minutes and go on a show. Here you go 5 days early and they practice the whole show all day long. They want a perfect show. When I was done with Oprah and these things, I said, I'm ready for anything. Oprah has 5 camera crew. When I get there, they got 35 camera crew.
Wow.
So they're big shows. And then I get there and they say, "Yeah, you're going to be the main thing at the end of the show." I'm going, "Oh, great." And I love pressure, don't get me wrong. But I love pressure.
Yeah.
So the dog was supposed to walk backwards upstairs with a glass of water on her nose.
Backwards, up the stairs
with a glass of water. Which is, I already set the record for walking backwards downstairs and walking forward upstairs. And then he was supposed to walk forward downstairs. These were the 2 of the hardest tricks that the dog really had to hold its breath while I was doing it, because you can't flinch or,
Right.
I can't spill a drop of water and all this. And so I promised my dog, one more time. She did the first show, beautiful, all done. And then they go, "Can you please come to the matinee show," or whatever the night show would be. What's matinee?
Yeah.
One was morning, one was night.
Matinee's in the afternoon, yeah.
Yeah, so it was an afternoon show because this was in the morning. And I go to my dog. I remember looking, I say, I apologize, sweet, but can you do it one more time? Because it was such a hard trick to teach.
Yeah.
And she did great, and did that show, and she did good. But that, you hear my voice crackle. He can show it to you. That's the German one.
Yeah, we'll
Red
send you that
Stairs.
video.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Wild.
But that's the tricks like that you remember. And it was a stadium, 40,000 people, and the guy asked if we could be completely silent while I do this. You could not hear a drop.
Really?
Yeah, 40,000 people. All you saw were flashes. Looked like Christmas going on.
Wow. Okay, that's crazy. With that many people watching you at the same time. Okay, so Germany. But speaking of Germany, like when you train dogs, are there certain dogs you need to talk to in a different language?
No, I talk to them. They usually put a mic in my ear, so if they're speaking German, it's a translator. But just so happened with the guy who was the host there, he spoke English too.
Okay, that
So he
helps.
spoke to me in English, and then he talked to the people in German. You know.
That's crazy.
But like when I go to France and all that, I actually have a mic, and that's why there's a little hesitation because they say it and then they repeat it. So you say, "Hey, how you doing?" And I'm hearing, "Hey, how you doing?" Then I answer. So it's
Nice.
2-second pause or a second pause.
How many people in the world are doing what you do? If you're traveling around and doing all these things, like you're at a pretty elite status for worldwide for this.
When I was in the United States, I was most wanted trick acting in the United States. My dogs were good.
Yeah.
Didn't make mistakes.
And your dog's Sweet Pea, right?
I had sweet pea, olive oil. We'll send you
Oh, yeah.
pictures there.
Yeah. So how long? Like, because I remember growing up going to the Lake County Fair.
Right.
So you go Lake County Fair. You were doing stuff there. So when people asked if I knew who you were, like I knew from a kid, even being young adult and seeing you do stuff there all the
Well, I
time.
did every school here, every library.
In your Popeye outfit too.
In my Popeye outfit.
Yeah.
I always loved Popeye ever since I've been a kid. I love Popeye.
Well, you must have ate your spinach because it turned out okay for
Spinach
you.
and broccoli.
Right.
Spinach and broccoli. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, so this has been, if I look back, you've been training dogs for 50 some years then.
Yes, 53 years.
53 years. All right. Is there anything that you haven't done? We were looking at a top secret video before we went on
Right.
about tricks that you actually have a dog with you today. Who's the dog with you today?
Pappy.
Pappy.
Yeah.
How long have you been working with Pappy?
3 years.
3 years.
Just, yeah. So probably, 2.5 years. Dog's 3 years old.
So when you train a dog like Pap, you're with Pappy a lot. Does Pappy live with you then?
Yeah,
Yeah. So you're with Pappy all the time.
all the time. The only time I'm not with is when I'm doing police dog, where we're doing bite work.
Okay.
Being aggressive, because then he gets all nuts too.
I bet.
Hearing a dog barking, So it's the only time he's not with me.
And if somebody hasn't Googled you by now or been on YouTube looking for you, Pappy walked in on two legs and walks in like a human.
Well,
walking
he
in.
walks all over. He can do a bunch of cool stuff. He's the man.
So what are you working on? I saw a video, and if you're not on TikTok and if you're not following, what is the TikTok channel?
Pappy the Poodle.
Pappy the Poodle.
Yes, sir.
All right, so
YouTube,
go there.
Pappy the Poodle.
Yeah, and YouTube, Pappy.
YouTube, Instagram, X, it's all Pappy the Poodle.
All right.
Yeah,
So Pappy's the real star.
he's a good guy.
Yeah, he's the good guy.
He's the man.
He's the man. So I saw one on the.
We just did a video, since you're talking about Great
Yeah,
Lake.
yeah.
We just did you can tell about the video. We did a video
Yeah,
over at European Gifts. You know where that is?
Yeah.
European Food and Gifts.
Mm.
Really good people, really good food. But Pappy walked in on his hind legs and went right up to the cash register and asked for his favorite sandwich, and the girl helped him out, and then the owner went and whipped it up for him. So
Yeah, but you got to watch it.
it's a cool
pretty
scene.
That's
we'll show you
awesome.
after, but
And what a fun thing to do, because and what you're doing, it brings joy to people. Like kids
Oh, that's
love it.
right.
Like who doesn't like watching awesome dog
That's right.
videos,
Well,
right?
that's what you're there to. That's the whole thing about performing,
Right.
making people happy. And the best thing I like with this TikTok now, for years, let's say I'm going through Target and the dog's walking on a ball. You have 2,000 people that love it, and then you have the other people that come up to you. Why are you cruel to your dog? Why do you do that to your dog? And it's really funny because if they watch the dog is happy as can be. He loves what he's doing. He
Yes.
enjoys it. And when you teach a dog properly, they love every step of the way because all it is praise.
Right.
Praise. Let's say, but that's what really surprised me about YouTube. No negativity, like people with a pinch collar on a dog, how terrible that is. I was trained with a pinch collar. A pinch collar, what makes anything bad is the user, not the tool.
Right.
So why everyone says, why use a pinch collar on a dog? Well, I want to teach my dog to walk right around a pole. I just put the collar on that side and I can direct the dog that way. It's the only collar I can do that with. It saves me thousands of hours and thousands of time for the dog. If I can do something 1,000 hours quicker for the dog, 1,000 times he's happier because he gets praise every time he does something. So
Right.
I'm using a tool that I can utilize, 100%, and especially in tricks, especially in tricks.
Wow.
Because everything is right and left. We have a bucket challenge. Tell them about the bucket challenge.
Bucket
so
challenge.
we're going to ask you for your ideas on this too,
Okay.
for how we would put it out there.
Yeah.
But basically, Dog walks up
30 feet away.
from 30 feet away. Alex commands the dog to put its paws in the bucket in a sequence or an order.
Okay.
So it might be right, left, right, or right, right, left, left, whatever it might be. But what we're trying to do is challenge dog owners and other dog trainers even to try
Well,
this.
definitely dog trainers.
First person to do it, we're willing to give. We're
$100.
going to give them $100. First person, and so
All right.
you'll want to look
cool, though.
for it. We'll show it to you afterward. But
Yeah.
we want to see what would be the best way to pitch this because we do want to spread the word and we want people to have fun with it. And we want people to share their outtakes and stuff with it because how easy this dog makes it look.
It's not.
And it does look easy. We'll show your son after this
Yeah.
too. But when you start thinking about the basic things and try to bring your dog up to do it, you realize how dedicated,
How many
how
hours?
much discipline that this man puts into his dog, and how much love and attention goes because
That's what
this
they
dog's
spend.
wagging its tail the whole time. It's pretty great relationship to see. It's wild.
And we also got, which your son will love, I'll give them to you. We have Find Pappy. Remember Find Waldo?
Of course.
So, like, I'll give you two. One is Find
All right.
Pappy's nose, and the other one is Find Pappy's foot. And there, I'll give you those two. And every week, we're putting out three of the scenes. Find Pappy.
Yeah.
One will be Find Pappy. One will be Find his nose. One will be Find his tail. The last one was Find his tail. Find Pappy, whole Pappy, and then Find his foot too.
That's
And
awesome.
they're a riot. They're a
That's-
riot.
And I love that you're doing that and you're getting people involved and having people interact and participate with it. It's very
Right.
cool. Okay, how did you meet Pappy?
What happened? I had a poodle named Sailor.
Mm-hmm.
When I got him, he was also a dog. 95% of my dogs were dogs that were going to be destroyed for biting. That's when I
Really?
took them when they were 6 months old.
I did not know
Yeah,
that.
at 6 months old, I can, it's easy to fix them, And this was the first dog, my poodle I had. He had a bad heart when I got him, so it was just a matter of time that something was going to happen, and he performed beautifully. He did 5 Guinness World Records, but there were 2 times where he sacked out, where I was working him, he just hit the ground and was stiff. And he came out of it, no big deal. When I took him to the thing, he said, well, we'll give him medication. And I put him on medication. He was looking at me like, why are you doing this to me? He was terrible.
Right.
So I took him off the medication. And 2 years later, my wife goes, Sailor's on the couch waiting for you. And I go, on the couch? She goes, yeah, I have no idea. He never went on the couch. And went home, took him out, worked him in obedience, had him hind leg walk to his stand, died. So he's just waiting for me to come home, So that was hard. And he was young. He was 7 years old, but he had a good 7 years.
Wow.
But this is a matter of time. So when he died, my daughter went to, or was talking to people in France, and she got a Finnish lab hound. And it's a different breed. She liked how they look and wanted to take it. And they said the woman raises poodles, and she has a poodle that she wants to get rid of because it doesn't have good teeth for showing. And they showed me a picture of it. It was a real short couple. Short couple means the front feet are close to the back feet. And for tricks, it's hard to find dogs like that. So wound up taking them, brought them over here, took them to Barrington Animal Hospital to work on teeth and do all the canine dogs.
Mhm.
She looked at the teeth. She said, pull our little teeth. We pull our little teeth. Perfect now. So that's how I got him.
Wow.
And everyone says, here, I'll give you a good thing. Everyone, difference between America and Europe, everyone says here, man, you're lucky you got a smart dog. You're so lucky you got a dog that's smart. You go to Europe, they say nothing about the dog. I remember the first time I went to Europe with Sweepy. She was in Europe like 32 times. Went to Europe, and everyone comes up to me and goes, man, you're a good trainer. Nothing about the. I finally look at it, I go, nah, 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 nah.
I'm
You know,
getting
'cause
some
they always-
respect over here. Right?
Yeah, everyone says you got a great dog. You're lucky, But it always,
You know how many hours I have in it?
Yes, you don't say anything, but yeah,
Right.
you can take a dog and make it just like a Borzoi. It's supposed to be the hardest dog to train. That was Olive Oil. I'll show you her.
Yeah.
She's in. She wore a black dress, a red top with white ruffles. She looked just like Olive Oil, and they're supposed to be the hardest, dogs in the world to train. She was great. She got my first Guinness World Records, like I said, jump rope and high jump. So it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to learn, a lot for people to learn, knowledge of what you know to give to other people. You know, that's what's fun.
And you're doing like extreme tricks with these. So some of the other things, because and one thing we were talking about too is Grace Lake and tops.
Right.
So how long have you been involved with tops, and how did you get over there?
Tops I opened up when I was a teenager.
Okay.
And that's when I was working for Willie Necker and these guys. When I went off on, did part-time on my own. You
Okay.
know. And that's where Top started. So that originally started in like 1977.
Yeah. Okay. So I didn't know the tops has been there that long.
Oh, no.
Oh.
Tops has been there. We've been in Grays Lake 1989.
1980.
That's when we built Tops Kennels there.
Sorry, I misunderstood
Yeah.
you on that. Yeah, because it's as far as like the county goes and around, is that one of the best places there people bring the dogs to train? I don't know if there's a ton
One of the best places.
I'm sorry, is it the best place? Maybe not on the universe, but maybe just locally as well. And that so how many people so when you start there and when you
It was just
obviously
me and my wife.
you made it to be
Right, and
the
now
biggest place to train.
we have phenomenal trainers.
Yeah.
We have and the grooming. It's the girls have been with us for now probably 45 years, 40 years.
Wow.
So we have original people that've been there.
So that's cool.
And our trainers now are all, people that love what they do. So are they good trainers? They're good trainers, but they're even better when they love what they do.
Absolutely. It's anything in life, right?
So,
and it seems like it's a very high sought after thing to have an excellent dog trainer, whether it's police, whether it's trying to help people with dogs that have bit before.
especially problem dogs,
Yeah.
But it, changed a lot.
Yeah. And doing this for a long time, you've probably seen every kind of dog problem, everything, and how to fix it, right?
Everything.
Is there a dog that can't be fixed?
There's a dog that can't be fixed with the people. There are, like I showed you those pictures,
Yes.
there are dogs that should not be in the earth,
Right.
that, are very, very dangerous.
Yes.
Not dangerous, chances are, because like the one I showed you was where a guy was overpowering a dog constantly, and, the dog had no one else to do but,
Right.
turn how he was. So
Wow.
a lot is how they're raised. From 4 months on, that's your big window to fix things.
Wow.
Dog that's got a barking problem, dog that has an aggression problem. When you already are, experiencing something, you need to go to someone who's experienced.
Right.
Someone can fix that now. Not when it's 8 months old, 10 months old, and it becomes much harder. And all the negative stuff you go through with a dog. It's supposed to be fun owning a dog.
Absolutely.
It should be fun. That's what I always tell people. They have you have fun owning your dog.
Right.
You got to have fun owning your dog.
Absolutely. Okay, so at this point in the show, we always stop just to pause for a little bit because I want to get to know you a little bit better outside of dog things.
Okay.
So if you don't mind, I'm going to rattle off some kind of rapid fire. We call it our hot seat questions. If you're okay with that.
Well, I
All
love
right.
hot
And usually I have them on my phone here, but I'm not able to access them. So we're going to see how good my memory is today about anything. So here's Alex on the hot seat. If I forget anything, you let me know. What's the first car you ever owned?
First car I ever owned was a Dodge Lancer.
Do you know?
No, a '67 Chevy. '67 Malibu.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Nice.
$135.
Really?
98,000 miles.
You don't remember anything about this car. I love it.
It was the first car.
That's great. And we all remember that, right? It's
Yeah, and
important.
the biggest thing
Yeah.
I learned is you don't sell, or I never sell. You don't give you never sell a car. I sold to my friend, for $130, and of course it died,
Right.
2 weeks later. So now if someone wants a car, even now to this day, I don't sell anything. I've never sold anything since that day.
Good
If
idea.
you want a car, I'll give it to you.
Right. Tell me a place that, because it sounds like you've done extensive traveling. Is there somewhere that you'd like to travel that you have not been?
That I haven't been?
Yep.
Been to Korea. Yeah, probably China and Japan.
China or Japan?
I've been offered to go there, but it's always like, they could give you big money. A lot of money, but you're going to perform 3 times a day, 6 days a week for 6 months. I'm not a one person. I don't like staying in one place.
Right.
I'd be bored to death.
Yeah.
So that's the only time I got offered to go to Japan and China. Was always to go to a special resort and perform for 6 months or 4 months.
Right.
So I enjoy going. This year I'll probably go there doing tricks.
Interesting.
Because the dog that broke my world record going upstairs was from China.
Oh,
So
yeah. We got to
now
take care of that.
Well, now this one can be that.
Okay,
so,
good.
So it'd be good to do it on his home ground.
Absolutely. You had home court advantage.
Right.
That'd be
Yeah.
good. Okay, so I've met you in passing, but from the time that you've walked in the door here today to the time we sat down here, I'm gathering that you have a love of music for some reason.
Music.
You got one of those songs going on in your head all the time.
Sing all day long.
Right. What was the? So if you had to have a go-to karaoke song, what would it be?
What would it be? I don't know, anything. I like songs.
Right. Well, you sang when we came in the door when we sat down. I'm
That
like,
one,
I like
Yellow
this one.
Taxi is good.
Yeah.
Never been to Spain.
Oh.
It's a good song.
But I kind of like.
Well,
the music.
I've never
Yes,
been
sir.
to Spain, but I kind of like the music.
And now you guys know
Well,
what
they
I'm talking
tell
about.
me you're insane there, and they sure know how to use it. They don't abuse it, never gonna lose it. I can't refuse it. Yeah, those songs, a lot of good songs.
I love it. And once again, the reason I love doing this is that I didn't expect this today. So thank you. It makes me
you're
smile
welcome.
very much.
Yeah.
Okay, tell me something on a serious note, something that you wished you learned a lot earlier in life.
Something I learned a lot earlier in life.
Yeah, that you wish you learned earlier in life.
I would guess, I would be honest with you, I'm pretty pleased with, I learned the bad, I learned the good. Nothing else I'd really want to learn. I think I
Nice.
learned everything, It was hard for me. My mom worked 3 jobs, so what's probably is I can handle doing anything without anyone. I think that bugs a lot of people.
Yeah.
More so my wife, but, yeah.
I'm sure. And it kind of goes along with the conversation we had, like, you like doing things live because you can make mistakes, and mistakes are okay, right?
Yeah, you learn from mistakes.
Yeah. That's why I'm
You
so
know,
good at a lot of
And
things.
people, and people, people get much more out of something too.
Sure.
When you say, "Well, no, I did this wrong," because I'm sure what I did wrong, 300 out of a million people did wrong.
Right.
And you could point that out, and they actually realize it then. So,
And it gives the people a lot more genuine experience or
yeah, it's real.
when they watch,
Yeah,
right?
when you look at something and it's taped, it's like, oh, you can see that guy didn't really say that.
Right.
Yeah, so that's not fun.
Yeah. Somebody asked me if I should do these podcasts and do an AI to take out all my filler words, my ands and my ums and buts. And I'm like, well, no, that would, I should learn to speak better.
It's human.
But, right.
Yeah.
And it's natural, right? And
Right,
it's-
it gotta be
that's what we
natural.
do.
Yeah.
Yes. A couple of my favorite questions for
Well,
hot seat
I can
guests.
tell you what I
Yeah, go ahead.
probably learned that I would do, saying, say what you believe in as long as it doesn't hurt someone.
Say what you believe in as long as it doesn't hurt
Yeah,
someone.
that probably had developed from one in particular person I knew was an officer,
Mhm.
who, I learned he wasn't afraid to say what he believed in.
Right.
So not that it's got to be, but if someone's talking bad about your son and you're sitting on a chair,
Sure.
you're sorry, so you can say, hey, that's my son, don't talk about him like that way.
Absolutely.
And it could be, something else that what you believe in, that's probably, I learned that later in life.
Yeah.
So if someone's, saying something to a woman that's not proper, go up and let them know that's not proper, So, it's
Absolutely.
probably
And a lot of people have a problem with that as well.
well, they want to get embarrassed, but why should you be embarrassed about something you believe in?
Right. No, exactly.
And again, as long as it doesn't hurt people.
Exactly.
Right. You don't want to hurt anyone.
No. What's on my other? Have you ever eaten a roller dog from a gas station?
Have I what?
I love the answer already. Eating a roller dog from a gas station. Do you know what a roller dog is? You know the
Roller.
the dogs that roll on the little conveyor things.
You mean a hot dog?
Yeah, hot dog. Yeah,
Have I ever eaten one?
yeah.
Only one bite at a time. I put the whole hot dog. Yeah. You eat a hot dog with
I
you
like
gotta shove the whole thing in your mouth.
Right. See, I like
And-
roller dogs from gas stations. I like the gas station food, and some people have no idea and they're very against
But
it.
you got to put the whole thing in your mouth at once.
I'll
then it
take
tastes
your word
really-
for
next
it.
time- no, you gotta-
And a big bottle of water to go with it to wash it down at the
yeah.
same
Oh,
time.
you won't fit a bottle of water in your mouth. when you got a hot dog in your
No.
mouth.
All right. So after doing this for 50,
3 years.
53
yeah. That's what we
years,
figured out, right?
every TV show that we could think of, all of these Guinness world records. Like, so what is Alex's plan for the next? What is the next goal that you want to do? Like, where are you going towards?
I like TV a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I like TV because, be it a Guinness World Record or anything, you have one chance. I'm the only dog, when it was Stewart, Guinness World Records, that's never made a mistake breaking a world record or setting a world record.
Really?
And when you're on TV, you don't get two chances.
Nope.
They can't say, okay, hang on, let's reset everything. You're talking, so you have to do it right. If you have to do it right, it means you have to be pretty darn perfect.
Right.
And, work the dog in every situation you can. Light, camera, rain, fire, whatever, So that, I like the pressure. My wife, not,
No.
She said, because my normal thing is when I go to a show, be it, I can tell you 100 stories, good stories. I told him a couple today, but my dogs are chilled. And then what the producer always says, sure they can do it. They look like they're really tired. Everyone. It's the first thing.
Really
What I
tired.
do. I lie down on the ground.
You go, Pappy.
And I put my head on the dog and I go to sleep, and they know what they're doing, They look forward to do what they're doing. They're relaxed. They're not, this guy, I don't know. This guy's hyper.
Pappy's sleeping on the floor.
I had
right now.
another dog a long time ago. His name was Popeye. This is before I became a sailor.
Mm-hmm.
I had Bosco, then Popeye, and I was Popeye and a sailor. And then I got olive oil. Then I became Popeye. But he was the dog too. This dog, when you're doing something, setting it up, something hard,
Yeah.
he's been there. He whines, he cries, he's like, yo, let me do it.
He's like ready to go.
But how I can't correct him for it, I'd be like your kid, wanting to do something real bad, you grab him by the hair, what are you doing?
Just
After all this,
we'll get it ready. Just go ahead,
let's
just relax.
go. You gotta,
right?
he loves that, so.
That's cool. So you haven't had a dog get like stage fright. You get anywhere and they freeze up.
Oh, no. Well, like you say, I can tell you 1,000 stories.
Yeah.
First time on, it would be Leno. They said, you want a drum roll for your dog? And this was with olive oil.
Okay.
And I go, yeah, sure. So we start the show, and they hit the drums. Dog takes off, goes into the band. And it's hiding behind the thing, and everyone thinks it's part of the act. And I see my wife off stage. She's like this.
Oh, no.
And I go, what are you doing? I go, olive oil, what are you doing? And she's behind the thing looking at me like this, And I go, come on, get over here. And she wouldn't do it, and I walk up to her. I go, good girl. And I take her, and I gave her a little pinch, get back up there.
Yeah.
And she went back up on the thing. But, little things like that. So, of course, what do I work with dogs? I work drum rolls. I do balloons popping. I do everything. I work Grays Lake is great. Libertyville is great. I can go to Sherway Trucking. I can go to Northern Signs. I can go to Gymnastic Factory. They let me come there while they're working, banging on things, doing stuff. So I do the dog in every situation can be.
Wow.
So, yeah, a lot of little stuff.
Yeah, because it's
but stuff
you gotta be ready
happens.
for, right?
Olive Oil, the first time she did a show, a block party, someone slammed 2 dishes together, and she jumped over the hurdles, and my truck was like 4 or 8 feet away, and she went for the 4th hurdle into the truck.
Wow.
And I go, what are you doing? It's not time to go home yet. And everyone's
Right.
laughing and clapping. I'm going, oh, God.
Right, this is not part of the show.
I take the dog back, Thank God she didn't have to do the hurdles again, but she did other stuff. She stayed there. But right when she jumped over the first hurdle, some guys dropped dishes, and she hit the ground, take one more jump, wound up in the truck.
Wow.
But I could play it off.
Right.
It was like, hey, you're not going home yet. And I say, yeah, she thinks she's done. I think you can bring her back out. So you learn what you need to do. So you're not surprised.
Yeah, no, and there's only so much you can be ready for, right? Because you
Right.
never know what's going to happen. Now, how many shows are you doing a year? Are you still going around and for kids?
No, it's a
and
brand new
other things?
dog. I mean, I always do. I do more performances through the years for schools and all that, but it's more of a educational performance. Show them how they sit out, what they do. I did the library like twice this year already. It's just where I'm showing them new tricks. Not a show.
Gotcha.
But to other people, it's a show. But it's not like I used to do because I don't. So, how long do you think I work my dog a day? You guess.
Today,
No, every day. How long do you think?
that's going to be more than I think from the way you're asking me, I think. I'm going to say 4 hours.
Well, you're perfectly right.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
4.
I didn't-
Yeah, it takes me 4 hours a day plus an hour of treadmilling. She walks on a treadmill.
She walks on the
He
treadmill.
walks on a treadmill.
He walks
She-
on the treadmill.
Yeah, but 4 hours a day.
I think
and if
I
I
saw-
would work a dog with these tricks 3 days a week,
Yeah.
they would never do it. They could never do it. It needs to be done 6 days a week.
6 days a week, 4 hours.
Yeah. So when I first got the dog, my wife wanted me to get the dog, and I said, you realize this is 4 years out of my life
Right.
with the family, because it is. I mean,
Right.
you don't teach a dog like the one I showed you.
Yeah.
You couldn't do that 3 days a week. The dog would never know it. It's
Right.
got to be conditioned. It's got to be muscle, and all this. And then I have exercises that we're showing. I think I have exercises that I developed for the last 3 dogs. They're 4 exercises. My last dog lived to be not Sailor. He had a bad heart. My other dog was 19 and a half. The one before that was 18. The other one,
Holy
and that's
cow.
all, it's all due to 4 certain exercises.
Like great shape too, right? Like that's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Wow. 4 hours. That's a huge commitment. Like,
Right. No,
what else do you do? like after
Workout,
having
that's it.
right. I saw one of the videos. I don't know if it was Pappy or not, but there was a treadmill thing and walking on hind
That
legs.
was Sailor.
That was Sailor.
Yeah, he walked on his hind legs on a treadmill.
Yeah. Yeah. My son never.
And he'd do that
never
for
did.
45 minutes.
Really?
You start, 2
44 minutes better than me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that was his way. I don't need to do it with this guy because this guy's. I promise when I taught him a hind leg walk, any door he goes through, except my house and the health club, he walks on his hind legs. Any door.
Really?
That was my promise to myself and him. So any door he goes through, it's on his hind legs.
Interesting. I love the relationship that you have with these dogs. I mean, this
they're
thing's got to
right.
mean the world to you, right? It's like
Oh,
another
sure.
family member.
They're good. They do a lot for you.
Right.
They do a lot. We just did a video on where you put a dog. So you have a dog.
I do not right now.
Did you?
I've had one, yeah. For a while.
Okay, what kind?
What's it? A Boston Terrier.
So when you had your Boston Terrier and you're in your car, right?
Mm-hmm.
And dog goes in your front seat. Right.
Yes.
Then you open the door.
Wherever they want, right?
Right. So you open the door. What's the first thing you say to your dog when he's in your seat? You don't sit down. What do you do?
No. Yeah, I want to tell them to stay.
You're going to sit on him?
No, in my seat. Move. I don't
Yeah.
know. Get out of the way.
Okay. First thing you say. So dog that misses you and sitting there, first thing you say, you get in the car, you go, come on, look, get out of here. So I realized this years ago with my Sweet Pea. I go away from her, I'm doing something for an hour, I come back, and this is a dog who performed all over the world for me, never let me down once, ever. And I open the door, I say, oh, come on, get out of here. Move over. So that one day I decided that day how wrong that was. So now I open my door, and it's on the video, and I pat my dog and I praise my dog till the dog's done. This dog worked for me. He never made a mistake in front of 77 million people 100 times. So now I just pat the dog, and I praise him. I say, you're a good dog, man. Good dog. You're good. And when the dog turns around and walks away, then I'm done. And that makes me happy, and it makes them happy. It'd be like your wife coming home, sitting by the front door, and she's got something really nice for you. Look what I have for you.
Just get out of the way.
Yeah, look
Get out
out.
of the way, right.
I got to go to the washroom.
Right.
Very
well put. Yes.
Yeah, but same thing.
Right.
So every time I go to the door with him, it's like pat him and praise him till he walks away.
That's
He works for me. I get him up 3 o'clock in the morning. He works for 4 hours. He doesn't say, "Okay, Alex, go away. I want to sleep."
Right. I need a nap now.
Right. So.
Okay. Can we talk about the new thing you're working on?
The new thing.
Because I saw the little video, the secret video that I never saw.
Oh, there's more, but yeah.
Yeah, there is.
So what about it?
So is this going to be video you're putting out? Is this for a world record? Is this something?
All the things you see upstairs will be for a world record.
Okay.
But that'll be for a world record too. But that we don't show. I don't do anything until it's done.
Well, and I watch it, and you seem like you're a minor perfectionist.
Yeah, that's the only way it can be.
I know.
It's the only way you do not make mistakes in
Right.
TV, and a dog doesn't make mistakes. So when you saw what you saw, the dog was on leash still. There was a little leash helping the dog.
Gotcha.
So how long will I help the dog till he's flawless? So I feel when he does that, what you saw was 16 stairs, and I'll go back to 10. When he can do that, it's like walking backwards downstairs. Every time I do that, now I do one on leash, and then I take the leash off. And it says, why do you have it on leash? Because now that he can do what you saw, if you'd see him doing now, he does it quicker. Why do I want him to do it quicker? It's easier.
Oh,
You know, you see how he's leaning over when he's doing it quicker. He's standing up straighter. So you can make that easier for the dog now. So it's much easier. But you have to help him to show him to do that. In the beginning, you can't go fast because the dog would fall down and break. You know?
right.
You know, so
That's crazy.
Yeah.
You must have, doing what you do, you have patience probably like no one else.
because I know what happens at the end. I know it all pays off, and the dog's happy. Dog, you know, can do it perfectly. I know that. You know,
That's
and
awesome.
everyone says you get angry. Well, I never get angry. Worst thing I had to say to my dog is no. You know, and then I got to go back. These are things I've never done. So a couple of times I got to go back on the drawing board a little bit, change what I'm doing because he's not understanding what I want yet. You know, so it's a learning process not only for him, for me.
Wow.
You know, all the new tricks are learning. Don't forget, my one dog was 18 years old, or 19 years old. So
Right.
last time I trained a trick dog was 19 years ago.
Wow.
So now you're starting
Starting
over
over.
doing something else that's completely different than what you did.
Wow.
You
That's
know,
really cool.
it's fun.
Okay, so I have another question to ask you because we're rolling up here on about an hour. I'm watching a video of you and these other things, and I shook my head. And actually, my son and I were watching it. We see this blue jay in your car.
Are you serious?
Yeah. Wouldn't
A blue jay in the car?
Okay. You have a blue jay that you've trained?
Yes.
Okay. Just take everybody through it because I'm still shaking my head.
Yeah, he's cool. I got him when he was 2 months old, barely any feathers. His eyes were completely, he was blind. He had that bird disease like 3 years ago where they lost their balance and a lot of them died. And the groomer worked for me. Her sister brought it because long time ago I had blue jays just that we got and raised because they were, you know, away from their nest and they wouldn't leave. They hung with us, you know. But they, by accident, someone gave them, birds die from onions, like quickly. So I went, with those two, they were probably 18 years old. And I went and I saw a McDonald's wrapper on the bottom of the cage, and I, please, no. And I looked, there was ketchup in it, and they died like 4 hours later. You know, so I've had other birds. I've trained many birds with the Trick Act, you know, parrots and all these other kind of birds. But I promised on my last one that I wouldn't train anymore because they always got eaten. You know, my daughter would take the bird and take it by a dog. You know, the last one, you know, so I was going to do any more birds, but they brought me this bird. And because the sanctuary really didn't want him because you got to feed him 8 times a day, this and that, and it was blind. So I put him on collagen and got good. And then one day I was driving downtown, he's got a little perch, and he ducked when I went on our pass. And I go, you're starting to see, little bird. Next one he ducked. So he has actually started, so now he can see perfect. You know. And
That's cool.
and he'll be setting Guinness World Records too.
For what? What does the
He's
blue
the
jay
first.
do?
We'll show you. He's the first bird in the world that can hop up 21 stairs for speed. He just stares too.
Is it harder training a bird? I don't even know that I'm having this conversation. I could be asleep right now. I'm not even sure this is real.
It's, you know, it takes a while before they, you know. I enjoy that bird more than any bird I ever had because he wants to be with you 24/7. It's like a dog.
Really?
Yeah. If I don't take him, he squawks. He wants to come with, you know, hangs with me. You know, just a great bird. His name's Alvin.
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 Right. Yes, I do. Oh my gosh. Okay, so the bird. Wow. Okay, I don't even know how. Like, how do you learn how to train a bird?
Just training with animals, you know.
Right. So this is
They're food. I shouldn't say they're food motivated. They got to get to like you,
right.
you know.
Because there's got to be a trust element with an animal, with
Oh, big
human,
time.
and
Especially a
back.
bird like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Because blue jays, they're intelligent birds, right?
I think.
They're smart
I think
birds.
all birds are pretty.
I mean, they know how to fly. I don't know how to fly. Smarter than me.
Oh, you fly. You
Right.
just use an engine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've trained bird.
Well, I trained my bird. Yeah.
Your bird.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna look forward to
If
having.
you never see, he's never on his shoulder. It's always on my finger.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are tuning into the and subscribing to the TikTok channel today. Did we get to meet Alvin on there yet? Is he on there?
Yeah, he's been on there.
He's on there. Good. All right. So how many TikTok videos you guys have out there right now? Do you know?
Of Alvin or both?
Oh, both. Yeah, just on that.
maybe 40.
So, and Alvin have his own channel?
No, he's
Sharing.
He's Pappy's sidekick, and they're often looking for each other.
Yeah, we send you some videos.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, what are we going to do tonight? We're going to go home and watch TikTok.
TikTok.
Yeah, that's right. We'll have a TikTok night, Pappy.
Cool. Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Good guy.
I'm looking forward to see what you guys do. Like, I think there's a lot to come, and I know that now that you're doing more media stuff, I really enjoy that you're doing that from TikTok to YouTube to all these things, so people around the world can enjoy it that don't see you in person. I think it's a really cool thing to do.
Yeah. Thank you for having us on this. I
Oh, it's
appreciate
my
it.
pleasure. Big
Very,
time,
very
my
cool.
pleasure. And I know that we can talk about 1,000 things, but I appreciate you taking the time to share. So, Crazy Lake, wherever you guys are, do me a favor, make sure to go on and subscribe because, we're on TikTok at Pappy the Poodle. Instagram, Facebook, all the same
thing,
things,
Pappy
same
the
names
Poodle.
all over the place. All right. So go check it out. And Alex does a pretty good job too. I mean, he's all right. So
I try.
Learn a lot from this guy.
I know. I'd like to hang out and just see what you do all day. I think it'd be really cool. So everybody, thank you once again for listening. No matter where you guys are at, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube, whether you're on Instagram, wherever you guys are listening, from Apple to Spotify, all the way down the line, do me a favor and subscribe because I think it's cool to listen to other people in the community because I think it builds all of our whole community. Everybody's so divided these days, so to have something common in ground that we can listen to businesses around and get to know people in our community really helps. And as I always end, besides stumbling over my words all day, but as we always end, we never know what our friends or family, anybody's going through. So get out there, do 1-2 random acts of kindness today, smile at somebody, hold the door for somebody, send somebody a text maybe you haven't talked to in a while. So be kind because kindness spreads like wildfire. And once again, I appreciate you both being
Absolutely.
here today.
Thank you, Dave.
All right.